Can start with Denzel making the Pro Bowl and just what kind of season has he had?
Yes, we were talking earlier today. We talk about like the best ability is dependability and availability. And I think that that's something that like he really strived in the offseason to make sure that he was available for the team, and not just, in a mental, playmaking fashion, but also physically. And he did a really good job at that this year.
Way he's continued to just be disruptive with leading the league in passes defense. And I know he has a couple interceptions, but even though those haven't come as often as he would like, the way he's still able to impact the games that
Sure.
way.
I think that this year for Denzel, like fundamentals and techniques have been outstanding, and it's one of those things that is really rooted in like doing it for the team. And I think that like in years past, that's something like seeing his maturity in that level as a teacher. I've been very proud of him in that.
Along those lines, I mean, the fact that he sounded like yesterday he wants to try to fight through and play in this game. I mean, the fact that you have a guy like that doing that at 3-13 in the last week when he is kind of beat up, like, what is that? What kind of message does that send to the rest of the defense?
The team is always first, and that's something that like being a Cleveland guy, right, and being one of our leaders on the team, it's great to see like our leaders lead. We talk about like leaders lead from the front, and we're talking about you're either a faucet or a drain, and he's certainly a faucet. He gives, he serves on the football field in the community, and we're seeing that on tape.
I guess unusual maybe to see a guy play his best football this far into his career. And you mentioned what some of the reasons, the availability, but what else did you see him kind of make a jump in this year?
Attention to detail. Like Denzel is a smart player, like with rare traits, but attention to detail, like he's really applied those things, and the team has always been important to him. But like being catapulted in a position of leadership, like you've really seen him take ownership in that amongst the group. Jim talks about, our D line being the engine, our second level players, linebackers, and our safeties being the nerve center and us being the tip of the spear. He's really taken ownership of that, legitly, and you're seeing it in his play.
What do you want to see Martin focus on this offseason?
True. You know what? I'd say being Martin. Like he's a guy that continues to have arrow up. He continues to improve his press, his off, his tackling. We want to make sure that we keep the focus on that. And then we talk about like not growing weary, right? So when we are successful in that, like remaining fundamentally sound and staying grounded.
You talk about Denzel's kind of turned a corner on dependability this year. I mean, did you think he could lay to rest the criticism that he isn't dependable? He's always missing a few games. You think this is a turning point in his career this kind of season?
He always has like leveraged all of the resources in the building, from Larry to Joe to, Ron, all of these guys in the building. So I know he's going to continuously, put his best foot forward in that manner.
Is that a suggestion by anyone for him to focus on that this year?
You know what? It's always ownership, right? Like great players. Jim always talks about like great teams being player led. Like these are goals, that we'll talk about in the offseason, but these are also personal goals that he's always had, and to see his maturity and dependability to rely on those resources this year has been great.
I know Cam played mostly in the slot, but it feels like he's had to play more outside lately with some of the injuries you guys have been dealing with. Do you think he can play inside and outside?
Absolutely. Versatile player. I know that, when Andrew and Coach Stefanski got him here, we talked about like that versatility amongst positions. And he's a player that, speed, length, athleticism, he plays press well. He's also has really good ball skills. And he's a good tackler. So being able to be inside and outside, but also being a good communicator to keep us ahead, that adds value in him.
I mean, when Cincinnati played late, where did he just stop because it felt like everybody stopped?
Sure. You know what? We have to do a better job finishing on that, just period. And I'll be the very first person to say that reflects myself. We made sure that we got that corrected.
With Martin, and obviously you guys play a lot of man coverage, is he what he needs to be, or does he need to really work on the technique in one-on-one outside man coverage?
Great question, Miss Mary. I think that like to a man, like to a player and a student and teacher, we're never really at our final process. So, us always working on what's important for us. I know that we talk a lot about who we play, what they play, what we play, best personnel in our 2 deep reference to injuries. So, the things that we play and who we play, we want to make sure that our press, our off, our zone instincts, as well as our tackling are always at the forefront of things.
Have you ever seen Lamar play any better than he is right now?
Oh, man, he is definitely arrow up, continuously improve. He's a better pocket passer. He's seeing the field more confidently, very impressive to see. Okay, thanks. Yes, ma'am.
Now that Mike's gone, Vrabel's gone, just what did you learn the most from him in your time working with him?
Yeah, I mean, he was invaluable, especially like early in camp and early in the season when he was with the tight ends predominantly, and just being able to see how he approached different players to reach guys that, not everybody learns the same way, not everybody takes coaching the same way, but his ability to reach guys and use different tactics, like that was critical for me. The way he's able to look at the game as a head coach and kind of the full picture of things. So to be able to hear that firsthand and be around it firsthand. And then, honestly, for me, coming from college into the NFL, for a guy that spent most of his life in the NFL, just the nuances and, some of the differences between the two games and hearing that from him was great. And so, I still am extremely appreciative of the time I got to spend with him and being able to, pick his brain, hear some things from a defensive perspective. And, it was a pretty unique but like really rewarding experience to be able to work with him.
I think it was at the Green Bar, the only time we talked to Vrabel, he made reference to having a past relationship with you. Where did that come from?
Yeah, just knew him a little bit just through other coaches, people that we had both either worked with or knew from the past. And then, when those guys come around for pro days or whatever it may be at, Notre Dame or Alabama and having that experience. So it wasn't like we knew each other great, but we were definitely, had some mutual contacts and people that were from the same circle.
Can you just comment on, I know we've asked you about it a little bit before, but just the way he got so physical during practices and, even with with the tight ends and all that kind of stuff, how that went?
Yeah, it was cool for me to see, and I think I probably, look, I'm not stature-wise quite what Vrabes is, but, even as the year went on and he wasn't with us, to be able to be hands-on with the guys and feel the blocks and feel some of those things and being able to, use those techniques, that was valuable for me. And for him, he was always looking at it, we block the position he played almost every snap, right? So to be able to hear it from the other side is a really interesting perspective for our players and for myself.
You talked about the nuances between the NFL and college. Being back in the NFL this year for you, what are some of the things that really jumped out to you there?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the personnel that you face week in and week out in the NFL is such a part of the game plan. There are guys that can wreck games, right? And in college, you might get a few of those throughout the year, but it's not week in and week out. And so, at this level, that's probably one of the biggest factors in how you approach looking at an opponent is just, okay, well, who are the guys that we actually have to go affect and block, and how do we make sure that we're putting our players in the right spots all the time?
Because you recruited and coached some of these guys, will you be part of the draft process, maybe more than a normal position?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, that's not necessarily up to us, and that's something we'll, as the off-season approaches, but, we were part of that last year and continue to, have our role in all of those things.
David getting named a Pro Bowl alternate. I mean, just the injuries he's dealt with this year, and he's been in and out. Just how has he handled that? How have you guys handled it as a group?
Yeah, I mean, Dave every week wants to play. Obviously there's been limitations there due to injury, but he's fought. He's a tough guy. That's something I learned about Dave throughout the years, just his commitment and his toughness to wanting to be out there with his guys. And, I mean, you saw it a few weeks ago as he gives our team a spark. So, really fortunate to be able to coach, someone like Dave. And, it hasn't been the easiest year for him, but, he's throughout all of it has really strived to try to get out on the field when he, as much as he can.
Just helping next year, what do you see for him just in terms of the kind of production he's capable of?
Yeah, I mean, you guys saw it here a year ago, and you've seen it in glimpses this year of, when he's able to go, when you get the ball to him, he's really good after the catch. He's really good with the ball in his hands. He's a great matchup in the red zone, as we've seen throughout the season. And so continue to build off that. And then, he is truly one of the tight ends in the league that you can have in the game to affect the pass and affect the run. And so that standard doesn't, drop for him.
Drew, you interviewed with Carolina twice.
Like those opportunities come about. I had a good experience there, but my focus has been on the season, and I'd rather just keep things, looking ahead here and making sure that we have a, opportunity to have a good practice and a good game this weekend. But those opportunities come, and fortunate for things like that. But my focus has been mainly here. So.
Tommy, it hasn't been the year that anybody wanted, but how are you a better coach than when you came in here last January?
Yeah, I mean, I think one, like being with the position group I'm with, like this, the tight end group is part of everything. Like outside of the quarterback, you have to know run game, protection, pass game, how to get open, how to block someone. Like for me, the personal growth there has been tremendous. Look, when you deal with adversity, you learn a lot, and this year has not gone the way any of us had, planned for. But I think when you're faced with those times, you learn in different ways, and you learn, how to keep moving forward, how to keep coaching guys, how to make sure that you're, week in and week out, putting your guys in positions to have success. So, sometimes you learn more in these type of situations than you do when everything's going, great. Whew, I mean, what do you think I'm going to say?
I just thought maybe you throw a curveball.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, first and foremost, hopefully everybody down there is okay and safe. And, there's a lot of people that I've spoken to with Notre Dame down there that it was a pretty, hectic couple days. So, obviously, I'm pulling for the Irish, but more than anything, hopefully everybody's, okay and can get home safe. Cool. Thanks, guys.